Interested in starting your own publishing imprint? That's awesome! Go you! Congratulations! But before you get started, there are a couple things you need to know about metadata to make sure that your publishing imprint gets off the ground without a hitch. And that is what we're going to talk about today on Lulu University. First things first, what is metadata? So let's figure out exactly what it is before we can talk about how to properly use it. So metadata are all the little things that describe your book. So author, title, book description, your author bio, the publication date, the ISBN, and copyright info are all included in your book's metadata. There are more things that can contribute to the metadata of your book, but these are all the big players that we're going to be talking about today. As an aspiring publisher, metadata is not only important for sales, but it's also a crucial piece of you being found online. Consistent metadata, especially if you're publishing multiple titles, is what helps people find you out there on the interwebs. We know what metadata is, and we know why it is important, but how do you use it correctly? So if you are creating your own press or aspiring to create your own press, getting the metadata right is going to take a little bit of thinking ahead. So if you're preparing to publish your own title or your very first title, you need to think about your imprint name and get really specific on the punctuation and the spelling and how that's going to look throughout the run of your press. So you're going to want to make sure it's really consistent because this is going to play a huge part, as I mentioned, in your discoverability and your ability to sell your work. For example, if I wanted to start an imprint called Best Books Press, and I decided that all the letters were going to be capitalized, but then when I went to enter that metadata, I didn't follow that formula, but on the next one I did, or maybe the next couple titles, I spell it with some variations, that's going to be a huge problem. It not only will confuse your readers, but it'll make libraries and bookstores and different kind of booksellers really less likely to pick up your book and sell it. The same goes for the title and author name. At Lulu, we see this a lot where folks may put on the cover, C book writer, and then in the interior cover it says Chelsea book writer. So you want to make sure that whatever you put on the cover is consistent on the copyright page, on your title information, everything. The author name is going to appear the same throughout. And it's the same with the title. And those are just some best practices to make sure your metadata is set up correctly. Before you even attempt to publish your first novel or your first project, make sure that you have the title, author name, publishing imprint, all the metadata pieces that we talked about. Have that written out somewhere so you have a consistent place to reference. It's so important to have this information consistent across all your distribution channels and everywhere your book can be found because any discrepancies can cause distrust in the reader. Another piece of metadata that I just want to touch on briefly is your book description. So I know that you've worked so hard to write the book and you're done with it and the last thing you want to do is write more about the book, but don't phone this in. This is so important to your overall metadata and discoverability online, again, as we had mentioned. So for your book description, every single line in your book description is a piece of your metadata. So you want to make sure that it reflects keywords in your book that can be easily searched and discovered by your audience. So an example of this might be you just wrote the most comprehensive book in the world on Pop-Tart varietals. And we thank you for that. The world needs that, I would say. So you have all of your descriptions of s'mores flavors, strawberries, blueberries, hybrids, whatever. So you want to make sure that in your book description, you're using all these key terms so that that lucky person out there who's searching for all of the rundown of Pop-Tart flavors can find your book. So using obviously words like Pop-Tarts or breakfast foods or snack foods for kids or whatever you feel like your audience is looking for, make sure that you put some of those words into your book description so you can be found more easily. Next up, we're going to talk about ISBNs. So I'm going to break this into its own section because it's really important that you understand what exactly an ISBN is and how it will affect your imprint. So an ISBN is an International Standard Book Number, but what exactly is it saying about your book? As an aspiring publisher, you should know all the information that your ISBN is providing about you. Specifically, the ISBN is identifying the specific title, the author, the type of book the reader is buying, the properties of that book, and then the geographical location of the publisher. Additionally, ISBNs allow libraries, publishers, and book retailers to find a specific book. And it should be noted that most distribution channels will not accept a book for distribution if an ISBN is not assigned to it. So how do you go about getting one? So there are a couple different paths you can go. A lot of publishers or publishing platforms you might use can offer them either for free or to purchase. Lulu, for instance, offers them for free, or you can buy one from us for $99 each. So for most of the people who use our platform, a free ISBN is fine and it works for their needs. But if you are beginning your own publishing imprint, then I would highly recommend you buy them on your own. That's because if you take a free one from whatever platform you're using, it will identify the self-publisher as the publisher. So for instance, if you take a free one from Lulu, it's going to default to Lulu Press as your publisher. Again, this can kind of it'll be fine for a lot of people, but if you're starting your own press, you're going to want to take that extra step and make sure that your name and your imprint are reflected on every step of the way. So you can either buy them from Lulu, as I mentioned, or you can go to Bowker, who creates all of the ISBNs, and purchase them in bulk, and they can give you some discounts for bulk purchases. One of the best benefits of buying your own ISBNs is that you can use whatever publishing platform you choose as essentially a white label service. What I mean by that is that you can, publish and print your books using whatever self-publishing or publishing platform you choose, and then no one outside of your organization knows where the books are being printed and fulfilled. So those are a few tips on how to get started by using metadata to create your own publishing imprint. The bottom line is this. Everything you do to set up your book's metadata needs to be done accurately and consistently. The way that online retail and online search engines work is heavily favored towards consistent and accurate information across the web. So to come up in search results accurately and regularly, you're going to need to take your time on this to make sure you're setting up your imprint for success. If you have any questions about this, then drop them in the comments below. Be sure to hit subscribe and give us a thumbs up, and we will see you next time.